Hi, this is a tutorial on how to use the global ripening room controller. So what I've just done, let me exit this so I can start over. We used the Horner Envision RV Remote View version 3.10b to communicate with the controller. And we can go to Tools, Communication Settings, make sure we have the right IP address and communication mode. The touchscreen is a connected device, and we click OK. We'll see the little progress icon. So here's a duplicate of the touchscreen controller. We upload from the controller to our PC. And in just a few seconds here, we'll have a duplicate of that touchscreen on our connected PC. From the connected PC, we can then use Log Me In or some other internet software to connect remotely to that local connected PC with the web browser and have access for support and help from afar. So once we've finished uploading, if we click on the multiple screen thumbnail icon, we can see all the screens in the controller. This happens to be the start screen here. So what we have now is a complete duplication of the touchscreen. We see a summary of the actual measured temperature. We're actually working in an office, it's not a ripening room right now, with the ethylene and relative humidity, carbon dioxide, and static pressure of the fans. On this side, we've got all of our offsets and other control points that we need to set. So if we click on room 1, we will see that we're in manual control. It's on. Gassing is enabled. Set point is higher than actual, so we're gassing. Same with cooling. Again, we're in an office setting. Same with humidification. We want to make sure that the fans are actually running before we start cooling or heating. And there is a selector switch in the front of the control panel that needs to be in the on position to power up the fans. Then through an off contact on that fan contactor or overload, we verify that it's actually pulled into a digital input. And if the fan switch is on and if we have our aux contact made through the digital input, then the controller knows it's okay to cool or heat. So again, this is exactly the same as at the touchscreen itself. And how do we use this? So for cooling, if we click on the set point box, we can easily change to whatever temperature we want. If we chose the set point, which was warmer than the actual, then you can see cooling goes off. And in a short time, the heating relay would come on in this particular case. Similar with our ethylene, but if we want to change our set point to 40 ppm, relative humidity to 90%, or our CO2 to 1%, that's all we need to do. If we're gassing and we don't want to vent, we can disable venting. When we turn the control off, even though the fan switch is still on, we don't perform any action, and we can't change anything. When we turn it on, that's where we can enable or disable. So, and you can see how we've gone for humidification. In the overview screen, we also have access to submenus. Here's your alarm screen. Everything's green, which is good. Offsets, if we calibrated our RTD temperature sensors to the ripener's master thermometer and say that this particular sensor, which is the return air, was reading 1 degree too high, we could offset it to a -1 and make it agree with the ripener's master thermometer. And here we can see the running times that accumulate for the fan, cooling, heating, gassing, venting, humidifier. This is a great tool to let us know if something's out of whack, if the humidifier is running almost all the time. Then we would know that there was an issue with the humidifier, the sensor, etc. Control parameters, there's the concept of differentials and offsets. Differential is the total numeric value between when something turns on and off. The offset is where the bottom of that differential is in relation to set point. So to take an easy one, for example, our relative humidity or humidifier differential is 2.0 with an offset of -1. So to explain, if we're set to 90, the offset's -1 or 89 is where we start humidifying, and then 2 degrees higher at 91 is where we would stop. If this offset were 0, instead, we would start humidifying at 90 and turn off at 92. So I hope that makes sense. Control parameters we've looked at. Control parameters 2, we like to see time delays on all of our control relays, so that if a temperature is switching from 17.9 to 18.0 to 17.9, etc., we don't turn the relays on and off too frequently. So there's a little trial and error in how much time delay you want on each control device: cooling, heating, gassing, fresh air vent, and humidifier. You can also disable heating if you don't have heaters or don't want to use them. You can also switch from using the supply air temperature sensor off the cooling coil to the return air temperature sensor back to the coil. Alarms, we have dead bands, which apply equally to both sides of set point. They're set fairly wide in here right now. We would advise making these smaller, and then again, time delays before the alarm becomes active. We also look at some more critical alarm functions, that if the C2H4 ethylene sensor gets below -10 or above 95, we can stop gassing because we don't trust the sensor input. The same with an absolute temperature safety for low temperature and high temperature. And then if we call for gassing to set point for more than a day, in this particular case, and we never achieve our set point, we stop gassing, and in this case for at least 10 hours before we start again. This could be too high, and maybe we want to say if we gas for more than 240 minutes or 4 hours, we'll stop, and we'll stop for at least 60 minutes or 1 hour, but there's a safety. The controller logs all of the variables to an SD card. If you want to retrieve the SD card to transfer to your computer, you have to, and you can see it's media enabled right now. Disable the SD card for removal. OK to remove media, and it starts right into the buffer. Remove the micro SD card, reinsert it, and then you re-enable, and media is enabled. Active alarm shows us the alarm screens, and that's really it. Fairly straightforward, even if you didn't have this tutorial. I think a lot of people could get up and running by themselves. I would like to show you one other thing. If we needed to change the IP address, we can do that in Seascape, which is 9.10b. And we do have an Ethernet connection. If we put in the IP address and select the XL6 mode, click Finish, what we've got is we can go to the Ethernet configuration, module setup, if we typed in a new IP address here, we would have the way to change the setup and the IP address of that device. We're not going to write to it right now, but I just wanted to show you that.